Nobody. I've been talking to nobody, thinking, where is everybody? Oh, it helps if you go live. And so apologize for being a few minutes late. Had I thought I would give myself plenty of time to be done after work, and work took a little bit longer than I expected. So anyway, that's why I'm late. Please let me know if you are not hearing this. I've got my microphone plugged in, but I'm not sure. I think it's working. So let me know. Oh, nice. Twitter, maybe I thought I was gonna be on Twitter, but apparently I have to get a premium account, and I don't have that now. But if you're on now, tell me who you are, where you're watching this from, your state, and/or I guess I'm not on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. They didn't tell me that when I scheduled this. But anyway, it's good to see everybody. As you can see, I've got Celtic or Celtic Nation. I am a Boston Celtics fan, so I would say Celtics, and I even asked them in Ireland, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But on my way to Ireland, I read an amazing book by Matt Harris, Second Class Saints. This is actually a bestseller. I was talking to Matt yesterday and found out that the warehouse is out. so so we can really say this is a bestseller. They're working on a second printing, and it'll be out shortly. So anyway, I'm going to be giving away an autographed copy. This one's my copy, but the one behind me on the shelf here, there it is for one of you also. And in this box, one of you, this is one of my Amazon box. You hear all that shaking around? That is the winner's in there somewhere. And I did notice, let's see. Oh, here's my book, Secret Covenants. So one of the person that it's in that box is going to be winning Secret Covenants, and so I'll do that in just a minute. So Mormon Restoration. Here, I got to do this. I forgot. Do you know how many was in the first printing of Second Class Saints? I think Matt said it was 10,000. So I know he told me the benchmark was out, and they were upset about that. So you don't have to wait long to get them back in. I don't know. I didn't check Amazon to see if they're sold out, but yeah, the 10,000 copies are already gone, and I do think that this will be probably it'll probably be. If I was on the awards committee, I would vote for Best Book of the Year, I think. Although I will say with hesitation, because Paul Reeves' book is coming out this fall. And I was talking to Matt, and he says, yeah, but American Zion by Ben Park is also going to be. So it's going to be some tough competition this year for Best Book Award for sure. But this is just a fantastic book. I can't speak highly enough about it. And I just love Matt. He feels like a brother to me. we were talking about it yesterday, and he's my brother's age. So I just have real kinship with Matt. Anyway, but of course today one of you is going to be winning Secret Covenants. So this one's signed by Claire Barris, Cheryl Bruno, and Marianne Clements. I hope to be so. Cheryl did give an introduction. We were pressed for time, so it was very short. So we're going to get Cheryl back, and I guess it's upstairs. Cheryl's a busy author because she doesn't only have Secret Covenants, which we're going to be giving away here shortly, but she's also got a book on William Marks, which I'm about a little bit more than halfway through. It's a really good book, and I just, William Marks is like, everybody's heard of him, but what do you know about him? He was a really important church figure. I will tell you, just as a preview, that he was against polygamy, didn't like it. He was there for the famous High Council meeting where the revelation was shown. he didn't say much about it because he was against it. But he actually helped prepare Joseph and Hiram's body for burial. So that kind of shows you how trusted a member he was. Also, so after, just a couple things that I didn't know until I read half of this book, he he joined with James Strang for a time, and then James Strang started doing polygamy, and William Mark said, "I'm out of here." And then he joined a guy named Charlie Thompson, and it's funny because I have a friend from college named Charlie Thompson. Obviously, two different people, but that's where I'm at in the book right now. So he joined with the Charlie Thompson group, and I know that he joined with the RLDS Church as well, and I think he left them too. So it's very interesting. So anyway, trying to decide, what do you guys want to do next? Should we do the contest now, or should we wait? I can show you some pictures from Ireland too. I probably should have organized those a little bit better. I will tell you that later this week, I'm also going to be showing tangent trips with the city of Nauvoo. No. Well, I can do one with Nauvoo, but that one's not ready. It's the city of Kirtland. And so, and also to build up maybe some anticipation, I'm going to be having some Joseph Smith for President's shirts. It's election year. So if you don't like Kamala Harris and you don't like Donald Trump, sport your Joseph Smith for President shirt. So I'm going to be having those for sale on the website soon. So that'll be a lot of fun. I don't want to wait anymore for the contest. So we're going to go with the contest now, and then I'll show you some of my pictures from Ireland and tell you a little bit about that. So I have here in my trusty Amazon box, shake it up really well. This was the most contest entries, and some of you, I guess I'm going to have to put, you can only sign in once, because some of, I think one person put in like 4 or 5 times, which I did catch that. So yeah, one entry per person. Don't be sneaky. So anyway, here we go. We're going to find out here who is going to win this copy. I must have pressed something, and so just when I was telling you who was going to win, it says that my mic was muted. So anyway, you saw me pull this out. The winner is Richard Reddick from Kennewick, Washington. So congratulations, Richard. I will be sending you this copy of, I'm dropping things here, Secret Covenants. So that's awesome. Congratulations, Richard. Very, very cool. All right, so I guess, let's see here. Microphone issue. Yes, there was. Apparently I went muted for a second. I didn't know why, but I unmuted it. And, oh, it says the winner is, so if I cut out again, it was Richard Reddick from Washington. I don't remember what city it was. So glad it's working. Thanks for letting me know about the microphone. And by the way, I will ask, because I know I've got my nice microphone plugged in. Do I sound okay? Because one time I thought I was using this nice microphone and it was using my computer microphone and it sounded terrible. So hopefully it sounds better. And I don't know why it cut out, but thanks for letting me know. Kennewick. Is that what I said? Is that where he's from? Kennewick, Washington? Like the Kennewick man. Yes, very good. So very good. It's good to see you, Scott, by the way. Very cool. Did I say that this was my most popular contest ever? So I don't know if it was probably a combination of 2 things. Number one, it was open for longer than usual, and also because I think that might be the reason why. So that, but I don't know. It's a very popular book, and it should be. It's fantastic. Like I've been reading chapters here and there. So what I would like to do is show you some pictures from Ireland. What I will tell you this, it's kind of funny. I don't know how many of you have been to Ireland. That was clearly my first time. And I didn't mind driving on the left side of the road. That didn't really bother me. What bothered me was how freaking narrow the roads were, because there were places, and not just narrow, like, so the roads are narrow, but for some reason in Ireland, I'm definitely gonna have to be careful about what pictures I show you guys. In Ireland, they put experiencing technical difficulties. Okay. They put stone walls on both sides of the road. And if it's not a stone wall, it's like trees and bushes and branches. And so when you got a big bus coming by you, like, you're pulling over into the bushes or into the stone wall, or like that, ridiculously narrow. And while we were there, I mean, I feel terrible to say this, but there was a child, I shouldn't say child, he was about 14 years old, was killed. Oh, why can't I see all my stuff here? On a bike. And I was like, well, I wonder why. The roads are pretty narrow here. So anyway, we actually took our car back after the first day and said, yeah, we will take the bus. And so for some reason, let me refresh my screen here. I'll be showing them to you here shortly. There, that's more pictures now. So anyway, super fun, super green, super temperate. Oh, I guess that's where we're going to go here. So let me see if I can share some pictures. Let's see here. And I know it's going to tell me that I wish I had 2 monitors, and I wish I did. Let's see here. So Mormon restoration, I need to find out more about you. I'm not familiar with you. You're newer to scholarship, but it's been an amazing year for new books. It really has. This has been a blockbuster year for new books. And Scott Vance says, Scotland's the closest I have been. And we were thinking about going to Scotland, but didn't make it. And yeah, and Scott says he can't see the pictures because I haven't shared them yet, but I'm going to do that right now. So let's give this a whirl. I don't know if that's showing. Oh, here we go. All right. So now, one of the interesting things here about Ireland is you'll see built and then some other strange language, 1580 AD, restored in 1980. I'm trying to remember what this was, but that other language is Irish. I did not know that Irish was a language. So just some practical things. So I have an Android phone, and I'm using Google phone. It's a Google Pixel phone. So I actually did upgrade my plan to international, and it worked fine. Like, I didn't have any problems. But my wife and daughter had an iPhone, and if you know me, I don't like iPhones, and now I really don't like them, because even though I signed up for the international plan, theirs would not connect to the, I think it was a Vodafone network, because we actually went to the Vodafone store and had to buy a SIM card so that they could use it. And then when we came back to America, of course, the America stuff didn't work. So that was kind of annoying. But anyway, this is just kind of a little store now here, but it was built in 1580. So everything is just super old there. I'm trying to remember. There's my daughter. We were at so you can kind of see how green and beautiful. One of the weirdest things about Ireland was the sun came up around 4:30 in the morning, and it went to bed, and it didn't get dark until like 11 o'clock at night. So, but in the winter, it's kind of just the opposite. The sun doesn't get up till 10 in the morning and goes down at like 4. So you have some long summer days and some very short long winter nights, I guess you would say. I'm trying to remember where this was. We spent a lot of time. We went about a week before into Ireland, so you can see an old church here. Um, I didn't really see where. Oh, that was a wonderful picture. Um, but yeah, you can see everything's dual language. And I remember when I first came to Ireland, I was like, what is this other language? And so we went to the Vodafone store to get my daughter and my wife's phone to work. And she said that it's mandatory to teach Irish and English in all schools. And so everybody is bilingual, but you would hear people speaking Irish only. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting language. So apparently Welsh, they still like we went. So after we went to see the Taylor Swift concert, we went to London and landed in Wales, and the signs were in Welsh. And so I was like, wow, I didn't realize. So a lot of people are dual language people. I didn't know those languages were even still around. So it was really fun to see some of the old churches. I'm trying to remember where this was. Fosra, it's the National Monument in the care of the Ministry of Arts. Anyway, so don't mess with this stuff. But it was a beautiful day. It was beautiful weather, and this was a park that we went to that had a bunch of old ruins and churches and everything, and it was along the I can't remember the name of the river, but just Ireland. I remember I went to New Zealand one time, and somebody said, oh, wasn't it so green your eyes hurt? And that's kind of how Ireland felt to me. We did experience a little bit of bad weather. You'll see that. This is the Glendalough Hotel, or I don't know how you say that, but Slán Able. I'm not Irish. I guess I am a quarter Irish, but I don't speak any Irish at all. So, gosh. Oh, this was at the airport. So this is in Dublin. We were waiting for our rental car. My pictures aren't in any order here. Oh, this was our rental car. I'm going to skip that. We were taking pictures of it because we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't damaged. So anyway, you can kind of see so all the signs are in Irish and English. I thought that was pretty interesting. And so, this was really interesting here. The reason why you're probably wondering why I took a picture of the road. So you know how in America we have the yellow double lines in the center of the street? That yellow double line, that represents the shoulder. And so you can see that even this is in the city. City driving was better. It was easier than country driving because you didn't have the stone walls next to you. But you can see there's not much of a shoulder there. Like everywhere in Ireland, that's me and my daughter again outside a restaurant here. The shoulders were just ridiculously narrow. So this is the restaurant that we went to. Very windy day there. I was trying to get a picture of the flag, but I couldn't. So this was a museum that we went to, the Hunt Museum. And this was our Airbnb. It was very well lit. That was kind of interesting. Dirty Nelly's is a wonderful restaurant. It's a 400-year-old restaurant, and it's right next to, trying to remember the name of that castle. Can't remember the name of the castle, but we went here. Bunratty, that's what it's called. The Bunratty Castle behind it. And so this restaurant has been there for 400 years. Good place to eat. I will tell you this. I went to get some vegetables. They told me they had vegetable soup, and I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting," or "That sounds good." And when I got the vegetable soup, it's not like American vegetable soup. It was wonderful. It tasted great, but it was not what I was expecting. Normally, when you think of vegetable soup, it's got like a beef broth and a bunch of vegetables in it. This was kind of like, it looked like squash that had been pureed, I guess, and it tasted really good. It was really good soup. I ate it several times. But this is the Bunratty Castle behind Dirty Nelly's. And that's the vegetable soup I was just talking about right there. So that's what it looks like. I did take a picture of it. I didn't think I did. So that very, very good soup. But it was not quite what I was expecting. So the original Dirty Nelly's was established in 1620. I don't think we have any 400-year-old Oh, there's my finger. Restaurants. And then we had to get a picture of the telephone booth, even though, of course, everybody has a cell phone now, but this is an Irish telephone booth. And somebody liked to take a lot of pictures. My daughter, once again, the Piggery. I thought that was a funny name. Um, so this was an old Irish village, and I think I have a picture here. So they had a little map of. This is in Bunratty Castle. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I believe this is Bunratty Castle. And one of the interesting things that I think I'm going to show you here, besides some bad pictures. Yeah. Oh, I must be at the end. Was the murder hole? What is a murder hole, you may ask? And so apparently, so this is the kind of the big reception area where the king was, and they didn't usually let women and other people in there very often. But very, for the however old this is, several hundred years old. That's where the king sat in the throne behind the big table there. And obviously he was a hunter and he liked to hunt big animals. And then they had a fire right in the middle of the floor, which I thought was pretty interesting. Oh, I took a picture of that. Now it's funny because you always forget now why that was important. But there was I think that was a fertility goddess or something. I don't remember. So anyway, these are just some pictures inside a medieval castle. I'll just say it that way. And God, it's amazing how much you forget. This was like a month ago now. I think this was the kitchen, or the Earl's kitchen there. I got that right. So it's nice when you put things, the bedroom, what it would have looked like. And that's kind of an interesting, kind of a mermaid lamp or something. I don't know what that is. But anyway, super fun to do that. That's enough pictures of the castle. Let me scan ahead here. This is on top of the castle here. So they had some lookout. So it's a very nice view for invaders or traffic, as the case may be. It was fun to see the traditional thatched roof buildings. These are traditional Irish buildings that I thought were a lot of fun. And what else here? Oh, this is more vegetable soup. You can see I was really interested in that. It was just so different. I was talking about the murder hole and I got sidetracked. I thought I took a picture of it, but I must not have. The murder hole was basically so when an invading army was coming into the castle, they would have these holes in usually the doorways of like where the army would come in, and then the people inside the castle would pour boiling water or feces or whatever just to try to stop the invaders. And so they were trying to murder the invaders. It was called a murder hole. So that was that was pretty interesting. But we did a lot of driving around on the paddy wagon, and that was a lot of fun. I will say I finished Matt Harris's book on the paddy wagon and the airplane. So that was a lot of fun. What else do we have here? I did want to show you, hopefully. Oh, this was interesting. The name Bennett, I always assumed it was an English name and was surprised to find out that it was an Irish name. Now, I knew my grandmother, Ralston, was Irish, but I can't figure out where the Bennetts come from. And of course, we spent all our time in Southern Ireland. And when I found out that Bennett was well, it is an English name, but it's also an Irish name. But they're from Northern Ireland and kind of Scotland area. And so, so that was pretty good. Now, you may wonder why, but you can see up 92, footnote 92 right there. Paul Reeve provides details about the drafting and editing process in his interview with Rick Bennett of Gospel Tangents, June 6, 2018. and it gives the reference there. Moss, Gray, and Mason confirmed their position in emails to me. So it was nice to be footnoted. Not I'm in the book, and so that was a lot of fun. That was the only footnote that I noticed, but I was like, I think that might be mine. Now this was interesting to me. John F. Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, President of the United States of America, became a freeman of Galway Borough at this plaque on 29th of June 1963. That was the year Kennedy died in November of that year. And so I remember walking through here and being like, why do they have a John F. Kennedy Park? But he's Irish. And so apparently he visited there about 5 months before his death. So that was a very interesting surprise. We went to an aquarium. You've been to an aquarium, probably most of you. I'm trying to remember. I think, why did that picture just disappear? Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. But these are churches that date to the Roman period. It's called the Seven Churches, but it's not actually. Oh, it's not going to show you for some reason. I don't know why. Or you'll just have to look at these small. There were not actually seven churches there, but they looked like churches, and they call it the Seven Churches area. And so that was pretty interesting to visit. Now, here's another really interesting thing. Here, I'm going to have to stop sharing apparently, and then I will start sharing again. I don't know why that's not working, but let's see here. Oh, let me answer some questions. Yes, I am live right now. So, Deb asked, did the phone booth have a working phone? No, it did not. And I hopefully answered what the murder hole was. And yes, I'm a citation. It's not the first time I've been cited, but that was a lot of fun. So let's go back to the pictures here. All right, so we went to this place called the Aran Islands. Oh my gosh, why is this doing this to me? Oh, maybe, let me try this again. I don't know why this is having a problem. Um, let me try entire screen and see if that works any better. Maybe not. Well, you can see the picture small here for some reason. It's not working, but this is a 3,000-year-old stone fort. And they said, so it was very rainy. They've got some pictures inside the museum, but we actually walked up there. You only get it for a second. And you can see that it was really bad weather that day. It was rainy and wet. And I will tell you what, so we had to take a ferry ride to see this fort on the Aran, Aran Islands. And they told us, so at the hotel we stayed at, she said, even on a good day, that's a rough boat ride. And I remember my sister-in-law said, well, I'm going no matter what. And I said to her, have you ever been on a bumpy boat ride? And she said, no. And then after we got there, it was the second worst boat ride I've ever been on in my life. Me and Wendy went on a cruise right after we were married in Portugal, and that was the worst. It was a small cruise ship. It had about 110 passengers, if I remember right. They went out of business after 9/11 hit. So this was before 9/11. And there were 6 people who showed up for breakfast. We were 2 of the 6, me and my wife. So this wasn't as bad as that, but it was pretty rough. Um, and on the way back, my sister-in-law said, "I can't believe they didn't cancel that." We were going to see the Cliffs of Moher, which actually you can kind of see here. The Cliffs of Moher, Mohar, um, were in the movie The Princess Bride, where Andre the Giant's climbing up the rope and everything, and so you can see that. Oh, I do. I don't know why. Yeah, that was a picture of how narrow. So they got a white line down the middle, yellow line for the shoulder, and there's no shoulder. It's just the roads are so crazy. Um, but anyway, we did go to the Taylor Swift concert, and I know I have. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's got. But anyway, here we are. Well, I guess you can't see. That's the Taylor Swift concert. I have more stuff because I know I went to London. Maybe I should put London in here too. Because we spent a couple days in London after this, and we went to the Tower Bridge and the Tower Castle, saw the crown jewels and everything. So that was a lot of fun. Definitely recommend that. I had been to London 20 plus years ago with my wife, and I know that the Tower Castle was it seemed different from 20 years ago. Oh, I also thought this was interesting how they've got these crooked lines here. I think I just figured out later that that was notification to the drivers that there's a crosswalk ahead. And so here's the Third Church of Christ Scientist. Oh, that, for some reason that works. So I can show you my London pictures. So we did a little bit of church hopping, but not a ton. But I didn't know they had a Church of Christ Scientist in London. That was interesting. So you've got Big Ben and the Parliament building. Of course, the Tower Castle is a lot of fun to visit. And you can see the crown jewels and all that. So anyway, that was my trip to London. And I guess I'll stop sharing now. Let's see. Scott says my daughter did Swift in Europe as well. Yeah. So here's the funny thing. A lot of people are like, why would you go to Ireland to go see Taylor Swift? And the reason why was because we could not get tickets in America. It was stupid. And so my daughter got up at 3 a.m. to get tickets. And so we got them in Dublin. We overpaid for them easily. Like they were ridiculously expensive. But Taylor Swift puts on a good show. And it's funny because it happened to be the day we were there, happened to be my daughter's 20th birthday. So, so it was her best birthday of her life. And so the next day or the next night, well, yeah, so the next night, because she was there for 3 days in Dublin, and she was in London when we landed, I remember. Taylor Swift was. But the next day, the day after the concert, my daughter said, I am so mad. And we're like, what? You just went to Taylor Swift. What can you be mad about? And she said, Travis Kelce was at the concert tonight. He wasn't at ours. So my daughter has adopted the Kansas City Chiefs. My sister asked me if I was going to wear a Travis Kelce jersey, and I said, no, I'm a Patriots fan. Why would I wear Travis Kelce for? it was fun. So anyway, I remember we went there, and my wife was like, should we do this? I'm like, yes. It's I've never been to Ireland, and plus, I should have done some genealogy while I was there, but because I'm a quarter Irish, and maybe my Deb says go Packers. I guess you just signed Jordan Love. You must be happy about that. I hope so. Utah State guy. But yeah. Anyway, I don't have anything against the Chiefs. They're fine. I'm a Patriots guy, but we lost Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. It's gonna be tough for a few years, I'm sure. So, what else? So I thought I would kind of give you guys some of my takes. I haven't read this whole book, but what I've read has been fantastic. let's see. Since I've talked to Marianne, Cheryl, well, I haven't talked much about Cheryl. Well, so maybe I'll save my thoughts for that chapter when I talk to Cheryl. So I've got an interview with Cheryl next week, in a week. In the meantime, I will have Matt Harris on. I have Louisa Packham. She's a new scholar going to Claremont. Just a little preview. I didn't go to her session at Mormon History Association, but she presented on George Albert Smith's mental illness, and I was like, wow. So I don't know much about George Albert Smith, and I didn't really know that he had, suffered from depression, and so that's going to be an interesting conversation. And then I've got Cheryl, and let me see here. Nope, I don't have it. Oh, I will tell you this. I am going to interview Amanda Hendricks Komodo, the author of Imperial Zions. So she talks about religion, race, and family in the American West and the Pacific, especially the Pacific Islands. And so so that would be a lot of fun. I just talked to John Dinger. So John Dinger and Cheryl Bruno co-wrote, what's the name of the book? It's called Coming to Zion or Yearning for Zion or something to that effect. And like I said, I'm halfway through that book. And so anyway, I got some fun, exciting interviews lined up here in connection with Sunstone, which starts Thursday night here in Salt Lake City. So if any of you are watching this and you can come to Salt Lake City, please do. That's going to be Thursday night, for all day Friday, all day Saturday. And then I haven't decided yet, but on Sunday morning, the Community of Christ usually has an interesting meeting. And so a lot of times I will go to the Community of Christ for their church services, because usually, I don't know if Locke Mackay is coming, but he comes a lot. I remember Susan Score. She was an apostle for the Community of Christ. And speaking of, I ran into Locke this week. We went to Nauvoo last week, and I'll have a full video for that one. I'll save that one for another day. But it was funny because when I got there, I was like, oh, I wonder, because Locke used to live in Nauvoo, and so I texted him and I said, Locke, are you going to be here? And he said, I'm on my way. I'll be there late tonight. And I said, oh, I'll meet you. We're going to the Nauvoo tomorrow. And he said, so we met by the Smith Cemetery. So Locke told me some really cool stuff. So if you're familiar with Nauvoo, maybe I'll show you a few pictures from Nauvoo here. So the red brick store, in between the red brick store and the Joseph Smith home, is the Smith Cemetery. And so we met at the Smith Cemetery. In fact, here, we'll start with that picture. Let me share my screen here. It seems like entire screen works better than... All right. It says we can see. Okay, so there we are. I believe behind the woman with the cane behind Locke Mackay, and by the way, he's got his Missouri Tiger shirt. I didn't know. I forgot that he was a Missouri Tiger. That's his mother who was there, and his wife was also there. And so one of the interesting things about this is, if I remember right, I think is Emma. No, can't remember. Maybe I have a picture here. So I'm sure I have a picture. Let's make sure I got these right. Well, that's the red brick store. I'm going the wrong way. Red brick store. Oh, I will tell you a very disappointment about the red brick store. So when it was owned by the Community of Christ, it was a bustling place. They would sell Joseph Smith for President t-shirts. And so you may hear, so they don't sell those anymore. And you may hear that there was an agreement between the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the Community of Christ that that the LDS Church could not sell merchandise anymore. That is not true. The LDS Church doesn't sell stuff anymore, but it's not because of an agreement with the Community of Christ. The reason why the LDS Church, well, I think there's a couple reasons, but the big reason why so you can't buy merchandise in Nauvoo or Kirtland because the Community of Christ had a piece, the LDS had a larger piece of both cities, and so when the LDS Church bought out the Community of Christ, it would trigger a federal antitrust problem, like the Sherman Antitrust Act. And so Locke told me that just to file the permission to be able to sell stuff, since now it was basically a monopoly by the LDS Church, it would cost $300,000 just to file, and then they would have to go through all the legal land deeds and everything, and it just sounded like it was a mess. And so there were some missionaries there in Nauvoo that were saying that it was because of the Community of Christ. No, it's not. They have nothing to do with it. It's a federal law. Because the church is now basically a monopoly in Nauvoo and in Kirtland. And so the church has decided it's not worth it. Plus they've got enough money. They don't need to make money off selling Joseph Smith for President t-shirts or sarsaparilla. But it's so sad that you can't go there and buy sarsaparilla now. And so now when you go there in the red brick store, do I have more pictures? No, this is the blacksmith shop in Nauvoo, which was fun. And we went to a blacksmith shop in Ireland, and it was very similar. Oh, I must not have taken pictures in the red brick store. But at any rate, the shelves are empty. It's not a bustling place. Like, it was deserted mostly. It was just I kind of felt sad because it was a lot funner place. Not that it's not fun, but just a very different feel. But anyway, so the Smith Family Cemetery, that's what I started talking to you about. So this is the pathway here, but what I did not know, you can see these people very small over here. So we know where Joseph, Emma, and Hiram were buried, and of course, Locke thinks that Joseph and Hiram's bodies were mixed up when they read. So, because basically they were all buried, so they were buried here, and then the federal government put a dam in at Keokuk, and so the Mississippi River is more of a lake now. In fact, they call it Lake Keokuk, even though it's a river. But it raised the water level, and so they were concerned where the graves were, and so they've identified Joseph, Hiram, and Emma, and I think that was in the 1930s, if I remember right. I might be wrong on the date there. But whenever that dam was built, they were worried about, because the graves weren't marked, and it's not just Joseph, Emma, and Hiram that are buried there. There's some other graves of church members, but even over here in the grassy area here, there are Native American graves that are 1,000 years old. And so I was like, really? I didn't know any of this stuff. And so, it's so fun to hang out with Locke because he tells you some amazing things about this area here. I thought I had more pictures, but this is basically from the cemetery. And so the Community of Christ still retains ownership of the Smith Family Cemetery, which is in between the red brick store and Joseph's house. And then, of course, off in the distance here, you can see the mansion house, which was basically a hotel. There's the Smith Family Cemetery. And so here's a model of of what the mansion house was originally like. Of course, they've taken off the roof. All of this area has fallen down now, and so that's why the mansion house is not nearly as big as it was in Joseph Smith's day. But it's kind of nice to see a model of the house there. And so, yeah, so this is the piece that we can see now. All of this stuff behind the house, the hotel part, fell into disrepair and basically fell down. So anyway, oh, this is the well at Joseph and Emma's home, right there. That's a picture of the well, and this is inside Joseph and Emma's. But I'll save that for another day. But anyway, so just so fun. I was glad to see Locke again. He's such a good friend and such a good guy, and just so much fun to sit down and listen to him. So anyway, let me stop sharing again. All right, so I'm back, and let's see. No more comments, questions there. Secret covenants. My friend said you should do like a top 5 takeaways, and so let's talk a little bit about Marianne Clements. It just kind of blew me away. It was such a different time. This whole surrogate motherhood thing, such a crazy thing. I think Marianne is an amazing, amazing researcher, and so to me, the most interesting thing about Marianne, so Theodore Turley marries 3 sisters, Mary, Sarah, and Eliza. Mary was the first to join the church, but the last of the 3 sisters to marry Theodore Turley. And because she had a child, she had 2 children in England. She left one there, brought one to America, and never married the guy. His name was Selwyn. First name was Congreve Selwyn. But because she had a child, she didn't want people to think that she was disreputable. And so in Nauvoo, she went by the name of Sarah Selwyn. And then she married Theodore Turley. And then Mary also had, the rumors in Nauvoo while Joseph Smith was alive were that, there were John C. Bennett was talking a lot about polygamy and that sort of a thing. And so a guy named Gustavus Hills had basically seduced Mary Clift into a relationship and then asked her to get an abortion after she got pregnant. And so, of course, she didn't want to do that. And anyway, so there's high council minutes on that whole thing, and Gustavus Hills finally agreed to pay for child support. So it's just interesting to me, the people that were involved in this were in some unusual relationships even before they married Theodore Turley, and that's just it was such a strange story to me. It was super fun to read. So Richard Rennick from, was it Kennewick, Washington? It is. Kennewick, Man, Washington. You're going to enjoy reading this. It's all, like I said, I've read 4 or 5 chapters. I've read Claire, Mark Tensmeyer, Marianne Clements, Cheryl Bruno, and Don Bradley. Although Don Bradley has 2, but I've only read one of his 2. The whole Don Bradley, I should talk about that. I'm trying to get Don on. I don't want to give too much away, but he dates it to 1836. That's pretty common knowledge. Dates it like the summer of 1836. And he traces the discovery by Emma of the relationship with Fanny as of the summer, and that's why Fanny went west, Joseph went east. He had to figure out where this treasure was in Salem, Massachusetts, which there was no treasure. And I think Don, because the problem with dating the relationship between Joseph and Emma, some of the records say as early as 1833, and Don's later than everybody with 1836. I think most people think 1834, 1835, but Don makes a compelling case for 1836. So that was interesting. The whole Claire Barris interview and chapter kind of blew my mind a little bit, because John C. Bennett was saying, that you don't need a ceremony, and there's not a lot of evidence of a ceremony, especially for these early marriages. And so, from a modern sensibility, polygamy is scandalous enough in today's world. Um, but the idea is you're supposed to have some sort of a ceremony before you do this. Well, in the 1830s, it wasn't regulated, and so it seems probable that John C. Bennett was kind of right there, that some of these not were not ceremonies. The other interesting thing that Claire really caught my attention with was this revelation where Joseph was supposed to marry Sarah Ann Whitney, who I think was 19 at the time, and I think, if I remember right, he had proposed in 1831, and she was pretty young, and so they waited till 1841, and then he had the pretend husband, Joseph. Thanks, Allison. The pretend husband, Joseph Kingsbury, who's also the scribe for um, the DNC 132, which of course is a big deal. And so the idea was, so Sarah Ann legally marries Joseph Kingsbury, but the revelation stated that Sarah was supposed to have a child with Joseph named David, and of course, no child was produced. So then Sarah has, and I don't understand. Claire was focused on Joseph Smith. He wasn't focused on the others as much. I don't understand how she went from Joseph Kingsbury, because then she became Heber C. Kimball's wife, and so the idea was it was like it was a Levirate message. Oh, here, I'm going to show this. There's a nice note here from Scott Vance. The minutes of the excommunication proceedings are fascinating. It is unfortunate they are not transcribed on the Joseph Smith Papers website, and I will add, hopefully, they will. Hopefully, they will be. But yes, it is unfortunate. That would bring a lot to that, and so anyway, I don't know. I don't know how Sarah Ann went from Kingsbury to Heber C. Kimball, and then had basically 3 children named David. The first 2 died. The third one lived to adulthood that was supposed to fulfill this prophecy. But he was just like, he wasn't like King David of old. So I just found that whole, every time I talk about polygamy, I say it's a can of worms. Because it really is. But it's fascinating to me to hear these crazy stories. What was the other one? So Claire, Marianne. Oh, Cheryl. I'll save Cheryl for later because I'm going to interview her next week. And but I'll give a preview of Cheryl's chapter. She talks about Emma Smith's denials, and we talked about it a little bit, but I want to go into more detail with Cheryl on that, because it just seems the point of Cheryl's chapter was to talk about, because everybody's like, why did Emma lie? Because there was a story about Emma had agreed to the marriage of the Partridge sisters, Emma and Eliza Partridge, and Cheryl and the late Johnny Stevenson. Johnny had done a lot of research on this, but he passed away, unfortunately, a year or 2 ago. And so kind of Cheryl took Johnny's work and took it to publication. And so she questions the validity of that story and argues, especially with William Marks, who I can't wait to talk to Cheryl and John Dinger about, that William Marks participated in the endowment, I think it was, if I have that right, or an important ceremony, at least in the temple, but he never accepted polygamy. And so the idea. Oh, I did tell you, Deb. I told you I was in Nauvoo. I remember telling you, but yeah, I I let you know. But anyway, so that's interesting. So I want to dive deeper into that with Cheryl than we already have, and So anyway, um, Allison said, "Love your lives, Rick. It was a lot of fun. We missed you, and I just wish I had enough money that I could just travel like that all the time, and I didn't have to pay for anything." It was it was a lot of fun. It was very disappointed to come back to work and have to work. Luckily, I scheduled it so that my uh, hopefully my podcast didn't suffer too much while I was gone, but I couldn't do much editing while I was gone. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. Is there anything else? Do you guys have any questions? Go ahead and post them on there. Because I mean, I could talk about Nauvoo. I will tell you, I just finished my Kirtland episode, my tangent trips, and I was waiting because I pre-recorded my at the end I have a little teaser about the next episode. I was like, and I'm going to talk to Matt Harris. And at the time I recorded it, I hadn't talked to him, but I have talked to him now. And so I need to put the little thing together. So hopefully that'll be out about Thursday. Thursday or Friday. I might wait till Friday. I probably will because I can't edit this weekend because I'm going to be at Sunstone. How am I going to get that thing edited and work? So I'll figure some of that. So anyway, end of the week, I will have my Kirtland video, Tangent Trips number 5. And then we're going to have Matt Harris, and it's a fun interview. and I would just encourage you all, because I know I said in the interview, I only asked like 1/20th of the questions that I wanted to, but it's nice because 5, 6, 7 years ago, Matt gave me a lot of amazing stories. We talked about the Brazil Temple, and even something that came up since the last time I talked about the Brazil Temple, about President Lee and J. Reuben Clark. Some of the information in Matt's new book, where did I put it here, about J. Reuben Clark, here, I'll put it over here, was just fascinating. J. Reuben Clark is he was a leader of the church basically during the 30s, and it was very tough. Michael Quinn, somewhere around here, I have my Michael Quinn book on J. Reuben Clark, and he was known for anti-Semitism. I mean, it's there's things about history we're just not proud of, but that was one of them. But he was very open to the idea of allowing biracial men to be ordained. And so I was just like, really? That's, so people are complex. It's really hard. And so there was a lot of stuff with Marion D. Hanks, who was a church leader, a 70, that was very progressive. He just passed away in the last 10 or 20 years, I think. And I was just amazed at how much information that Matt got from Marion D. Hanks and private correspondence. The amount of private correspondence that Matt got his hands on was just incredible. I mean, this really, you can see why it was sold out in a month. 10,000 copies a month. It was funny because I interviewed him and I knew that the warehouse was out and I knew I had one. So if you want this one, go ahead to gospeltangents.com/contest right now. It still has Cheryl's book on there, but if you sign up today, it's, you're not going to get Cheryl's book. You can sign up for this book. And only once, though. Only sign up once. One per person. And U.S. residents only because shipping is ridiculous when you go overseas. But I'll try to add that on the webpage maybe after this. So, but yeah, the amount of correspondence and private meeting minutes, and I even asked Matt, because he's told me several times, when you write a book like this or whatever, he says he only uses about 30% of the research. And I was like, So what's in that 70%? What's not in the book that you wish was? And so he shares a few things like that. So it's it's a super fun interview. Um, so I know he's been on some other podcasts, but he told me nobody's asking about J. Reuben Clark. Nobody's asking about Marion Hanks, and so I was excited. So this is going to be something that will definitely be new and fresh. And so anyway, well, I think that's it. Let me just give you a couple more announcements. So if you can make it to Sunstone this week, I know Moroni Jessup will be there. John Dinger is going to be there. He's a co-author with Cheryl Bruno on the William Marks biography. I'll be there. I'm sad that Steve Pinacre's not going to make it. He's still suffering from tinnitus, and that's awful. I'm sorry, Steve, if you're watching or listening or watching later or whatever. So he can't be the umpire for the Exmos and the Fundamentalists kickball game. So get better, Steve. We miss you. I will just say things to think about. I've got a lot of traveling schedule this fall. I don't know how I'm going to do it all. There's a Royal Scousen thing, I think, in about a week or two. I think it's in my newsletter. I don't remember the dates on that. In October, we have BOMSA, and we also have BOMSA, Book of Mormon Studies Association, is in Logan. I think, I can't remember, but it might be the same weekend. It's the weekend after General Conference. Chris Thomas told me that, and Chris will be there. I asked Matt if he will be there because he spoke last year, but he said he's not. We've also got Whitmer in September. How could I forget that? And in fact, there will be breaking news. I will tease that on the interview with Matt Harris and John Whitmer. The Mormon Social Study, actually, it's the SSSR. Oh, Scott Vance knows all about it because he's the one who got me to go the last time in Pittsburgh. And Scott's from Pennsylvania, so it'll be a local trip for him. I don't know how close you are to Pittsburgh, but but I really want to go to that. That was just fantastic. I love that. And so those are some events coming up. Is there anything else? I'm just doing this off the top of my head. So if you're interested in Firm Foundation, I think they're meeting in September, October. Probably October would be my guess. But anyway, those are some things coming up. Oh, glad to hear it, Scott. I haven't bought my plane ticket, but I'm hoping to come to Pittsburgh. I did talk to Joel Gailey, father of Josh Gailey. You remember Josh was on my podcast. Josh is a evangelist, aka 70 in the Church of Jesus Christ, the Bickertonite branch, and his father is the president of the church. Really tried to twist Joel's arm, but he would not come on my podcast. But I do want to go to Monongahela. I will also do a plug. I just watched this the Lincoln documentary and a George Washington documentary and a Grant documentary and the Andrew Jackson documentary. Their History Channel videos on Amazon Prime. Really well done. But one of the things that caught my attention in the George Washington video was the Battle of Monongahela, which was a Revolutionary War battle, and I was like ears perked up when I heard Monongahela because that's where the Bickertonite headquarters are. So I didn't know that was a Revolutionary War battle site. So anyway, I think I'm running out of things to say. So anyway, hopefully I will see some of you at Sunstone and maybe Whitmer in the fall, and maybe BOMSA and SSSR also in the fall. I don't know how I'm gonna do all my NBA games, but we'll make it work somehow. So I guess I'll have to take a day off or something. So anyway, good to see you all. Congratulations once again, Richard. I think there's a Richard Reddick here in Salt Lake City, but he has a beard, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen you, Richard, but I think you have a name twin somewhere here in Salt Lake City. So Anyway, thanks again, and I will see you all next week on the podcast. Talk to you later.